By the age of Sigmar YouTube, I've already managed to do one joke to annoy Richard Scott Jones, who joins me today, Ben Barrett here, to bring you some information about not Mass Effect Andromeda, because that game is actually out.
It's done.
And we won't talk about its quality. We're actually here to talk about Total War Warhammer 2, which now, while you're watching this, it will have been just announced. As you're watching this, Rich is actually not sitting in this lovely couch in our extremely nice offices. He's actually in London in a panel right now.
It's an illusion.
Watching all of this happen. Yeah. However, with the magic of pre-recording and the internet, we can bring you today some thoughts on Total War Warhammer 2. So, what have we seen so far?
Well, we see in the trailer, we see a high elf party led by a mage who are activating some magical object in a jungle when they're attacked by some dark elves, who are in turn attacked by lizard men, and then the whole thing turns into a big scrap. And there's a lot
as it tends to.
As it tends
in the old world, as it were.
It's like inevitable.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cool details that you can pick out in the trailer. So for one thing, the high elf mage who leads the party looks like he's probably Teclis, who is one of the...
Oh, no, I know who that is. You don't need to... No, I don't. Go ahead.
Well, in the tabletop game, Teclis was like this boss-level mage.
Right, okay.
And so it's fairly safe assumption that he'll be one of the high elf legendary lords that starts the thing off.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
You can tell by the staff. On the dark elf side, it's quite clearly Malekith who's leading.
Him I actually did recognise from like way back when. He's like he's the dark elf guy, right? He has been for several editions.
He's the guy who led the dark elf faction away from the high elves in the first place and started the whole thing. So it looks like he's probably going to, well, almost certainly going to be the dark elf legendary lord. You can also see a bunch of units that that you'll recognise from the tabletop game who are in the trailer. So there's on the dark elf side, there's some dread shards, they're the crossbowmen, some witch elves, and then when the lizardmen attack, there's lots of cool units and dinosaur units to get excited about on the lizardmen side.
Lizardmen are so cool, dude. They're just so cool.
There's a Saurus riding a Tyrannosaurus Rex, which in the Warhammer terminology is a Carnosaur. He squashes on a witch elf. Then there's a Slan mage priest, one of the giant frogs. I didn't recognise this one.
I was going to ask about this. Do you think, because now in the lore, Slan, if I remember correctly, are pretty powerful. Like they're kind of the best mages that you can get on the tabletop.
The most naturally powerful mages in the game,
do you think maybe because of that, Slan mage priests, you won't be able to just have them as a normal unit? There will just be one who is a lord, and that's whoever that is.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I would guess that Slan will be lord level characters, but they'll just be very, very expensive compared to everyone else's.
Sure, fair enough.
And the Slan that you can recognise in the trailer, he's not riding a Stegadon, so he's not Mazdamundi, he's not mummified, so he's not Lord Croak.
Okay.
But that's what we can see in the trailer so far. So that obviously confirms 3 of the new races that we'll see in the new game: Lizardmen, High Elves, and Dark Elves.
Now, along with this, outside of the trailer, there's also an announcement. Anything extra in there?
Yep. CA say in their announcement that there will be a 4th faction.
Who could it possibly be?
Well, if you scroll to the end of the trailer, there's a fairly...
It's just a rat.
It's a rat.
There's fine.
There is a rat at the end of a trailer, and...
It must mean, I don't know, Tomb Kings?
No.
Bretonnians, maybe, like, again?
Again,
yeah.
I would like that.
Bretonnians, but they're just like rats in the armour. Just like thousands of rats tied together riding a horse.
Well, no, let's end this merry facade.
Okay.
It's Skaven.
It's going to be Skaven.
And there's also little scratchings on one of the numerals in the logo, which look
they look like kind of the very ratty stuff that they get up to.
They look like some sort of Skaven logos or runes or something. It's Skaven, although CA haven't said so.
So what kind of units do you think we'll see from them then?
Oh, well, from Skaven, standard infantry are clan rats and slaves. It'll be interesting to see how they sort of break down at the campaign level, because there are 4 different Skaven clans or factions, and each of them have their own specialised troops. So there's going to be, if there's going to be clan Eshin, or you'll expect things like assassins and gutter runners and night runners. If there's going to be clan Pestilence, then you'll expect plague priests and plague monks and
lots of
poisoned wind globadiers. Skaven have a lot of pretty nasty units, yeah.
And of course, rat ogres.
Rat ogres, yeah.
From anybody who's played Vermintide will be very, very familiar with those young men.
All you really have to do, to be honest, is pick up a Skaven 8th edition rulebook or something, or
just
find
grab
a
one
PDF.
of those.
Yeah, and you'll get a pretty clear idea of what we can expect to see from the Skaven.
Okay, so what else is going on? Something about a new kind of campaign?
Yes, CA have talked a little bit about the new campaign mechanics. They say it will be a brand new style of narrative campaign, which is all focused on the Great Vortex, which is at the center.
Presumably that's the big blue thing in the sky.
Yeah, exactly. The big blue whirlpool that you see in the sky at the end of the trailer. Nice, good observation.
I worked out.
And that is, so basically in Warhammer lore, one of the first High Elven mages, a guy called Kalidor Dragon Tamer, cast a spell to drain all of the evil chaos out of the world. And that takes the form of a big vortex at the center of the High Elven island of Ulthuan. So CA say that if you're one of the good guys, which presumably which is lizard men and high elves, then your objective in the campaign is to defend the vortex. But if you're the bad guys, the dark elves or Skaven, your objective will be to destroy it.
How does all that tie in to if I'm playing, the Bretonnians or the Empire, or if I've decided to play the Beastmen or Chaos from the first half? Because of course all this does tie together. It's
a good question. CA have restated again that the new game will tie into the first one. It's what they've always planned. They've said they're doing it, they're confirming it's happening. I would think they haven't said specifically how the two campaigns will tie up, but I would think that if you're one of the good factions in the original game, like the Empire or Bretonnia or the Wood Elves, then your objective will be you'll share the same objective essentially to defend the vortex. And if you're one of the bad guys, then again you'll set out to destroy it.
You'll just have to actually get over there.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. We know that the two campaign maps will tie up, so you'll have to get over to Ulthuan and do your thing, and that sort of raises a bunch of interesting questions actually about the detail and how this is all going to tie up. Right. If right now there is water in the game, it's animated, but you don't have any naval units to get across it, and it doesn't really matter strategically because you could just walk around the map. But if Ulthuan is going to be the center of the new campaign map, then you're going to have to sail there, and it makes me wonder if CA are going to include naval combat in the new expansion.
Sure.
Which would be interesting to see.
And so, Warhammer does have a history of that. There was this whole, was it called Man of War?
Yeah, there was a video game called Man of War. There was a tabletop naval game called Dreadfleet.
Sure, that's the one. And it held all units for every single race and all that sort of thing. And CA have done water-based combat in the past. Was it in Empire, I think?
It was in Empire, it's in Rome too, it's been in a bunch of Total Wars.
So they have the tech, but it's never been particularly popular as far as I know, and B, they never got it quite right either.
I think it's been divisive, I think we could say that.
Yeah. So we'll see if they do anything with that. As for this second map, what's there, and what does that say?
CA have confirmed that it will actually take place in it will actually add 4 new continents. So Lustria, Nagaroth, and Ulthuan are what you would expect because they're the home worlds of the 3 races that have been confirmed. But we also know that they've also said that they're going to add the Southlands.
Right.
Now the Southlands is interesting because they are actually they're to the south of the Old World, which is where the original game was set. But they are also on the same landmass as a couple of other interesting territories. So just over the mountains to the west of the Southlands is the Land of the Dead, or Khemri, where the Tomb Kings live. They're another tabletop race. And then further to the west of Khemri is Arabai, where there's a human race which has never actually been seen in the tabletop game. It was technically I think it was in War Master, like a specialty sort of small scale Games Workshop game, but they've never had representation in Warhammer. So that's going to be really interesting. Like CA have included continents before where they've chopped off little pieces of the landmass, but they haven't done that in Total Warhammer yet. Like the old world is contiguous as far as it goes.
Yeah.
So if they cleave to that tradition, then presumably we might see Khemri and Arabai in the game. Maybe that means we can expect Tomb Kings as a DLC race shortly after.
That seems very likely to me. Because they strike me as one of the more popular old world races in terms of people that've heard of them, people that are interested in playing them. They're also fairly unique in that. Oh, Joel's going to kill me for fairly unique. In that, they are this kind of Egyptian zombie type thing, but they've got like skeletons. They've got all this cool cavalry.
Some of their animations or assets could be recycled over from the vampire counts as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So that might make them easier to implement.
It would make it. Yeah, it sounds like they are probably a fairly sure thing. I think that's something that a lot of people will be interested in. As far as the other guys go, now I remember you saying to me that they've promised a certain number of factions, and it's actually one more than there was in the last edition of Warhammer before it turned into Age of Sigmar.
So this is interesting. Like when we were at CA in November for the Wood Elves launch, and they said that each of the next 2 games, including this one, will have a quartet of factions at launch.
If you didn't know, there's going to be a Total War Warhammer 3.
There is.
They actually announced this ages ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
So like this is what incidentally makes me fairly confident that we're going to see the Skaven at launch in this, because they will be the 4th to make up the quartet.
Right. Yeah.
So just because they haven't been announced, they will be at launch, we think. But there's already 8 factions in the game right now. So 4 plus 4 plus 8 equals 16, and there are only 15 army books in the 8th edition of Total War Warhammer.
Right.
So it's interesting to think what they will do to make up those numbers. Like, they might split one of the current factions. Demons of Chaos is an obvious example, because there are 4 different Chaos Demons, each with quite a large roster of unique units and things. But they might also bring up one of the minor factions. So if one day in the far future, when the 3rd game comes along and we get another map expansion, if they're going to add the Ogre Kingdoms, that means they have to add the landmass that includes the Chaos Dwarfs, because they are between the Ogre Kingdoms and the Old World. And there's plenty of material there to make up a faction.
And again, that would be very, very popular, because Chaos Dwarfs have always been that kind of niche thing that Games Workshop never... I think they got rid of them quite early on in Warhammer's life cycle, and then never brought them back, right?
I think they were squatted before, don't flame me, but I think they had like a supplement book in 5th edition.
Which is, I mean, that's years and years ago now, right?
Yeah,
like,
and that's not even like a mainline rule book. So they might have been a main I mean, 5th edition is when I started collecting. So they were a minor one then, and then they were cut out.
So Chaos Dwarves, 100% confirmed, definitely happening. Along with the what did you say they were called? Sorry, the Arabai.
You're going to get us in trouble.
100% confirmed, direct exclusive. Anyway, that's what we think, as it were.
We guess.
Anything else? Any other guesses about Total War Warhammer 2?
I think we've just about
covered it all. All right, sweet. If you enjoyed the video, please do leave us a like, subscribe for more. We'll have loads of content coming up about Total War Warhammer 2. We think Rich is probably playing it as you're watching this video, or very much just about to.
We hope.
He's certainly hoping so. So we'll definitely have some impressions and that sort of thing with that. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.